So your question is, what is the difference between Brahmavichara and Atmavichara? In reality, Atman is Brahman. Okay. As per Advaita Vedanta, Atman is Brahman. Essentially, there should not be any difference. Atmavichara, Brahmavichara. Okay. And of course, other philosophies know Atma is different from Brahman. So, reality, Atma is the same as Brahman. If you consider Atma as the space within the house, Brahman is the total space. So, the space wise, there's no difference. But the enquiry process can begin at different points of view. So, enquiry process begins with the point of view of the creation, the totality, then comes to the individual. It's a top-down approach. You start with the creation, see the beautiful creation, then ask the question, who is the creator? Then what is my role in the creation? So you try to fit the individual in the totality of creation. It's a top-down view of creation, top-down view of understanding. So then when you have the question of creation, you have to understand the totality of creation, then how the creation happened, then what is the force behind creation, like Maya, and what is the Ishvara's, what is the God's relationship to Maya. Okay, then what is my individual, why I am there, what is my karma, okay, how I fit into this totality of creation. It is that viewpoint. It's a bigger picture and narrowing it down to individual. Samashti to Veshti. That's the viewpoint. Okay. In Brahmavichara. Brahman means the God, Ishvara, the totality. So you start with the creation and come down to the individual. Okay. So now here the challenge for us is when you start with the totality and come down to individual, you need a reference. You need a background. Say, for example, if I want to inquire into something like atom or molecule, I need a science background. Without science background, I can't inquire into atom and molecule. So a framework is required. That framework is provided by Vedanta, Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutra, many of these so-called standard Vedantic texts. There's a framework in which you can study. That means it involves a study of this study of that Vedanta, then proceeding with step by step, understand the viewpoint, then proceeding a systematic inquiry. It involves a breadth, right? It involves a breadth of knowledge, Vedantic knowledge. Understand the framework and come down to the individual. Okay. So this is one approach. This is called Brahmavichara. I would call it as cosmic viewpoint, cosmic inquiry based on the cosmos inquiry. You start with the inquiry. This is a typical scientific science way also. Science would inquire into nature, then it starts coming down to finally, if at all it comes down to, it will come down to individual. The inquiry starts from the totality, right? So it gives a sort of comprehensive view of life. Okay. Now, that's called Brahmavichara. On the other hand, it's called Atmavichara. So here you say, I am not interested in totality. I don't want to spend my time on understanding the totality. I don't want to understand what is the world. What is my role? I am happy if I understand who am I. So Brahmavichara starts with the cosmos. There are three entities, Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. Jiva is individual, Jagat is the world, and Ishvara. So Brahmavichara tries to address Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara in a more comprehensive way. Maybe if a gap there, but it's trying to address the totality, Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. Whereas Atmavichara straight away goes to Jiva Vichara. Jiva. If you inquire into Jagat, then ultimately you find that it's Brahman only. If you inquire into Ishvara, then you will find Brahman only. If you inquire into Jiva, also you find Brahman. But approach is a broad-based cosmic approach is called Brahmavichara, and a specific individual approach is Jiva Vichara. Okay. So in that sense, Brahmavichara is generalized approach and Jiva Vichara is a focused specific approach. Okay. So now here we don't address too many questions about what is my relationship to the world. Okay. Why the world is there. Straight away you try to understand your own nature. Inquire into who am I, which requires understanding myself, my body-mind complex, my inner self. Naturally, Jiva Vichara fits into a broader Brahmavichara as one section. Okay, Jagat and Ishvara are also part of the Brahmavichara. Whereas in Jiva Vichara or Atmavichara, you will ignore Brahma and Jagat and Ishvara. Ignore. Straight away go to one section called Jiva Vichara, Atmavichara. Okay. So now the study proceeds in a different way. In Brahmavichara, you need to study scriptures. You need to study Vedanta. Then you have to take a viewpoint. Advaita, Advaita, Vishishtadvaita, framework. Otherwise, you can't understand that. Okay. Then you have to accept the spiritual truths told in Vedanta. Okay. There's a faith required, Shraddha required. Basic acceptance of spiritual teachings. Shraddha, faith becomes primary in case of Upanishad teaching. Otherwise, why will you study something? So there's some truth in that. I accept it. I want to understand that. Is the Shraddha or the confidence in the Upanishad teaching becomes the basis. My inquiry supports that logic of Upanishad teaching. That means primary, I take prima facie, the teaching of Upanishad is true. My logic, I use it to support, justify that rather than reject it. This is in the Brahmavichara. So then finally you'll come to Jiva. In there are various prakriyas, processes with respect to Jiva. Okay, that's called Brahmavichara, cosmic approach. Whereas Atmavichara is individualized approach. So you will straight away goes to who am I? Now the primary focus here is logic. I don't need scriptures. In the Brahmavichara, you start with the scriptures and support with the logic. Here, you will start with logic and support the scriptures. Logic becomes primary. Okay, focus on logic. Who am I? I can see the body, but that's why I'm not the body. Like a Dardashi Viveka. So it's more of a focus on the logic. It's more of a manana-based approach. Okay, so now scriptures you will take as a supportive evidence for the logic-based approach. Now, this logic is not any kind of logic. Okay, logic is not like any very scientist or engineer who has a logical ability can apply this logic. This logic is to explore the truth. So the logic is based on the principle that consciousness is the reality. It's not a matter is the reality, logic. If you take matter as reality, logic will not work. So logic is constantly pointing to consciousness. And that logic is applied in systematic way in Atmavichara. So what is the nature of thoughts? Thoughts are mithya. Okay. Thoughts are constantly changing, but I'm not changing. Like that, you have to apply logic. That, of course, has a support of scripture, but scriptures come as a secondary. Primary is logic. Right? So now this is the approach which Ramana Maharshi, Atma and Krishna recommend for the Jiva Vichara, which is called Atmavichara. It's individualized approach. So now, which approach is better? Here, approach of Atmavichara is more direct and straightforward, which is more comfortable and convenient for people who are mature logically. But the people who are logically mature, they appreciate this. That's why Ramana Maharshi's teachings are much more popular in the world compared to any other teachings. It applies, simplicity applies. Who am I? Okay, find out who I are. So people find it a more direct approach to truth. But the problem here is the person who is approaching the truth may not have sufficient amount of maturity to appreciate the truth. The ripening is required. Okay? Understand? We have head and heart. The heart has to be pure and head has to be clear. A person who is logically strong may be able to apply logic, but heart may be still full of vasanas. So that's why when Ramana Maharshi says self-enquiry, he cautions it. This self-enquiry is suitable for mature souls. He doesn't say who is mature soul. A soul which is mature, maybe mature in terms of karma, mature in terms of jnana. That type of soul is Atma, self-enquiry. But self-enquiry appeals to all, but appeals to straight away does it. Everybody I can do self-enquiry. They'll start. But what they find is they'll get locked in that. They'll not proceed further because again and mind is trying to answer the mind's questions. The higher logic is not coming to picture. right? So the self-inquiry has to be done under the guidance of a enlightened master, because the self-inquiry involves examining your belief systems. Self-inquiry is about belief systems. Who am I? Okay, our hidden belief systems are there. Now, those belief systems have to be exposed, examined. That exposure and examination can be done somebody who is overcome that belief system. You cannot, your blind spot, you have blind spot. You cannot find that belief system which is hidden with your own blind spot. In a way of saying, there's a great surgeon, heart surgeon, but the great heart surgeon cannot do surgery for himself. He needs another surgeon to do himself. In the sense, self-inquiry has to be guided by the presence of an evolved person. Otherwise, what will happen? It will become mind inquiring itself. Constantly it gets locked into the mental jugglery. Right? At the higher self, inquiring the lower self makes a difference. But if your belief systems are blocking with the higher self, then you will be locked in. That's why many people spend years and years of self-inquiry and they think they have got answer, but that's not answer is not. This is actually fallacy. You will not be able to break through your own blind spots, belief systems, unless you come across a master. That's why all scriptures will specify whether self-inquiry or Brahmavichara, a guidance of a enlightened master. Otherwise, you are locked into the lower level practices. Your belief systems which are actually bottleneck for you, will not, or which are blind spot for you, you cannot recognize them. Okay. So many people think that look at a couple of books on self-inquiry, I can do self-inquiry. They can't, because of course, books will try to expose the truth in various ways, but still it's like a blind person trying to search for light. Okay. So Ramana Maharshi cautions self-inquiry is only for mature souls, but still people get attracted by that because of simplicity. It appears to be very simple. No headache of studying so many things. Generic approach. Generic approach is much more wider, involves many years of study, right? So now, this actually, Atmavichara is suitable for a rational mind. A person who is rational. Today, most of the bookstore people are rational, or rather they are taught to logic, questioning their thought. For them it appeals. But the prerequisite is emotional maturity. Now today's people, society, they are fully head heavy and what I mean is sharp intellect people, but emotionally not mature people. The society and the education system doesn't prepare emotionally mature people. Whereas a Brahmavichara assumes no maturity. It says you start from a basic. So he says Vedas start with the Karma Kanda, you do puja, rituals. Rituals have a lot of good place in the Karma Kanda, Vedas. Now, if you come to Atmavichara, rituals have no place, no important, because you are going to straight away go to individual. So the rituals is a way how I can connect to the universal. It may not be the absolute way, right way, but how I can connect to God, how I can do puja to God. I am connecting to higher. Whereas comes to Atmavichara, straight away you say, no, not important. Rituals are not important. Temple is not important. Puja is not important. So this will confuse people. Many people who have gone through self-inquiry, they will say, what are you doing? What puja you are doing? What ritual you are doing? It's all useless. Without understanding, that plays a role in the initial stages of maturity, emotional maturity. In fact, the Vedas give a due stages where you have to go through emotional maturity. Karma Kanda, then Karma Yoga, then Upasana, then Jnana. Upasana is meditation. Today's word, when you speak of meditation today, meditation is a buzzword today. Meditation is Upasana in Vedanta. Upasana is still a mental level activity, not Jnana. Jnana is transcending. Atmavichara, Nididhyasa is transcending. So then transcending, Nididhyasa. For you attain the emotional maturity, then transcend. Shama, Dama, Titiksha, Uparati, Shraddha, Samadhana, Mumukshatva, what I call Shat Sampati, you develop. So there's a gradation and gradual path in the cosmic approach. You are told you are here because of karma. So you improve your karma, you start doing Nishkama karma, then you do Upasana, then gradually move into Jnana. So it is giving a, what I'm saying is path, roadmap. Out of the roadmap, Jnana is the final stage. Atmavichara. So many people say, no, I'll go to Atmavichara state without going through the initial level of maturity. So Ramana Maharshi says, that's fine. You have come here. But this path is suitable for a mature soul. Now, what is maturity? It doesn't define. Right? Whereas Brahmavichara says these are the stages of maturity. You have to develop Shama, Dhamma, Titisha, Uparati, Shraddha, Samadhana, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Kriya, Jnana Yoga, all those things it will define. Understand? So Brahmavichara is a broader framework which involves Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara and Karma, action, Karma Yoga, Upasana and Jnana. Whereas Atmavichara is a narrow framework which is focused on, leaves out Jiva, Jagat, Jagat and Ishvara, world and Ishvara. It will focus on the Jiva. Okay. So now, there if you take the Brahmavichara approach, primary requirement is Shraddha, faith. Faith in Upanishads. Upanishads are telling me truth. Now today, most of the people are rational. Why should I believe in Upanishad? What is there in that? Because they don't have background. Why should I take that? Why should they take God is there? That questioning will come. So for them to even engage in the study of Brahmavichara, that becomes a burden. Their mind will not settle. The Shraddha is not there. It won't go. Right? So they start with the Atmavichara. But Atmavichara, they don't go further because mental maturity has not happened. Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga will make them ripe. That's not happened. Okay? Purity of the head, heart, and clarity of the intellect. Both are required for Atmavichara. Brahmavichara says, wherever you are, start with that, purify your heart, and clarity of intellect you go. That's a process. That process is outlined by Brahmavichara. So Brahmavichara requires Shraddha, then work. It is not your work, your way, purify yourself, come to Jnana, have faith in the Guru. Here, Atmavichara, questioning ability, questioning based on higher logic. Guru is required in both the places. Okay. So this goes into straight away to the point, pain point, Atmavichara. But many people are stuck Atmavichara because emotional maturity is not there. And Brahmavichara systematically addresses various issues. Atmavichara doesn't address that. All loopholes, in various ways, the topic is examined, individual and universal, so many varieties of ways examined. So there's likelihood that your lot of mental cobwebs are cleared in the Brahmavichara. So in a way, to summarize, Brahmavichara is a broad-based framework where it involves Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara, individual, world and God. Whereas Atmavichara is focused on Jiva. So Atmavichara is more suitable for logic-based approach, rational mind. But the problem is emotional maturity. If somebody has emotional maturity attained, then it may be fine. Whereas Brahmavichara requires a basic faith, Shraddha, in the Upanishad teaching. Then logic is secondary, plays a role. Surrender, all those things come there. Right? So, okay, further to simplify, Brahmavichara says, you are a work in progress in the universe. Your improvement, you're actually not perfect. You are ready to do improvement. Improve yourself to a level where you mature, become understand reality. So there's a process or path is given for you to improve. Roadmap is given in Brahmavichara. Your work in progress in the universe. Okay. Atmavichara says, no work in progress. It's straight away you are ready. You are already perfect. Find out what the perfection is. Is the difference clear? Any questions?
So for Brahmavichara, Upasana is practiced more.
No. Karma Kanda. They start with Karma Kanda. For example, morning Sandhya Vandana, Yadna, all those things they start.
They go to Upanishads.
Gayatri Mantra.
Kathopanishad, whatever discourse you have given. You will speak about Virat Purusha Upasana, Hiranyagarbha Upasana, Ishvara Upasana, all those Upasanas. So that will fit into Brahmavichara.
Then when you say, the moment I'm saying Kathopanishad study, already you are coming to Brahmavichara. Okay. In Atmavichara, you don't go into Upanishad.
What prakriyas?
Atmavichara, don't wait for Avastatraya Prakriya, all those things, Atmavichara, straight away you go. The moment you say I'm studying Upanishad, you already come into Brahmavichara. That's what I said. No, Upanishad, the Brahmavichara is a broader framework. Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, three are addressed.
That's what Karma Kanda, Upasana Kanda, and Jnana Kanda, it's
Coming.
I think somebody who are in the last stage of they then go to Atmavichara.
That's what I'm saying. Out of that, Upanishads cover, that Brahmavichara covers Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. It's a broader framework.
Upanishads, yeah.
Brahmavichara, which study of Upanishad, Brahma Sutra, Bhagavad Gita. Then Jiva Vichara or Atma Vichara is one section of that, which involves some prakriyas and all. So that prakriya is taken in the Atma Vichara straight away. One section. Who am I?
So some Upanishads will give any prakriya.
I am already explaining you. Ramana Maharshi said to come to Atma Vichara, you need a maturity of the soul. I said.
Yeah,
so you didn't define what is maturity. Maturity is required. So maturity means you have a broader understanding. All those things are required. Emotion maturity is required. His job is not to make you mature. Brahmavichara or Veda's job is to make you, prepare you from primary school, middle school, high school, and college. Ramana Maharshi says, you are in the college, please come here.
So they have already gone through all these prakriyas.
Ramana Maharshi will not even bother we have gone through or not. He says,
I'm not talking about Ramana Maharshi. To hit the self-enquiry directly, the person has already gone through all these prakriyas also.
We don't know. No. There are everybody in the world today picks up one book on self-enquiry, they start self-enquiry. What is that? Who will ask you to?
Not about all those people. I think the real person who is able to.
Yeah, I mean, if a person who has gone,
that's
that's exactly no. Emotional maturity is called purity of heart, Shama, Dama, Tisha, Uparati, Shraddha, Samadhana, and clarity, and clarity of intellect. So then the self-enquiry is straightforward process.
Yeah. So if somebody has entered that process, that means he has already done with all these prakriyas also.
I don't know whether he has done it. I'm saying somebody has entered means who is there to qualify?
Atmavichara is assuming.
Atmavichara is assuming a mature soul.
Of heart, it is already assumed.
Atmavichara. Remember, that's why Ramana Maharshi puts one small line. He says self-enquiry is suitable for mature soul. Now, what is mature soul? He doesn't get into details. Understand? So that maturity means emotional maturity. Shama, Dama, Tidiksha, Uparati, Shraddha, Samadhana, that type of maturity.
And also one level of Jnana intellect.
I'm saying, see, when you say emotion, a mature soul, it means so many things.
No, because emotional maturity doesn't come without Jnana.
That is that's our understanding. So that's what I'm saying. The Upanishad Marga or Brahmavichara gives a broad-based path. Doesn't assume your pre-qualification.
It's like the syllabus process.
It's a roadmap following entire syllabus. Atmavichara is one section.
I think it's the last chapter.
It is a last chapter, required of last chapter.
It can't be in the middle.
No, it's not in the middle. It's a required of last chapter, Jnana Kanda, conclusion part. So now, but for many people with the modern day world, Atmavichara appears to be simple. Who am I? Inquiry, let me do. They jump into that. Right? Okay, I'll put it in simple way. Brahmavichara assumes that you are a work in progress. He'll tell you processes required to make you mature. Atmavichara ensures that you are already perfect, whatever way, find out your perfection. You are not a work in progress.
Mind inquiring into its nature requires the mind and it requires maturity of the mind. It has to assume the witness position because witness only throws light on the contents of the mind. Mind cannot inquire into itself.
No, not only that. See, when you inquire, no, the logic applied, you'll apply material logic, worldly logic. Okay, the worldly logic doesn't apply here. The logic in the consciousness is very different. Right? In the worldly logic, big and small cannot coexist. Big cannot be small, small cannot be big. In the consciousness, big and small can be simultaneously. Big can be small, small can be big. That's why Anoraniyan, Mahatomayan. So if you start applying material logic in the Atmavichara, then there will be blocks. The logic is an application of higher level logic, which will take you to Atmadana.
Happy Guru Prabhuji.
Take it. So does it answer your questions?
Yes, sir.
So shall I stop? Anybody has a question on this?